The Baltimore Orioles just completed another season, failing to take that next step as a franchise from playoff frequenter to World Series contender. And with some major decisions regarding free agents, as well as the role of prospects on this team, there's a lot of directions this offseason can go for the Orioles. And with the right moves, the baby birds will get their playoff wings and soar deep into the playoffs. This marks the 23rd rebuild of the Rebuilding October series, which is a series where you rebuild a new team every day across the month of October. So whether you're looking for your favorite team or just generally curious as to how every team will approach the offseason, I've got you covered. And let's get the Orioles on a deep playoff run. Before we can look at who the team will bring in, we have to look at who will be leaving the team in the free agency. The biggest name was the jewel of their offseason last year in Corbin Burns. Burns was great for the Orioles in 2024, posting a 2.92 ERA across 32 starts, and would look to get paid this offseason. It'll be hard for the Orioles to keep up with the heavy hitters in free agency, and for that, Burns will be lost into the abyss. It will sting for the Orioles' rotation that already has a lot of question marks. The next name to leave in free agency is another top performer that will look to get paid this offseason in Anthony Santander. Santander enjoyed a nice 2024 season, hitting 44 homers and 102 RBIs with an 814 OPS. With that sort of production, there's a good chance that a significant overpay is on the cards, especially considering that his batted ball data suggests that that sort of production is not sustainable. Not to say he'll be a bad player by any means, but a player that should be much closer to above average with the bat as opposed to an elite performer. So with that, the Orioles will begrudgingly let the switch hitter walk into free agency. Another name that'll hit the free agent market is James McCann. McCann will enter the free agent market after two poor seasons in Baltimore, only posting an 87 OPS plus while also playing some poor defense. All of which is a backup role, and the Orioles can fill that role with a much better option. And it's a really similar story for Eloy Jimenez, who is faced with a $16.5 million team option for 2025. Jimenez really struggled in his time in Baltimore, posting a 586 OPS with just one home run across 33 games with the squad. While Eloy does have some impressive numbers under the hood, staying healthy and finding that raw potential have always been a struggle for the power hitter, and for that reason, the team will be letting him hit the free agent market. Another late season addition that had minimal impact was Austin Slater. Admittedly, Slater was better with the Orioles than his other stops by the end of the year, but still only posted a 586 OPS across the three stops. And that sort of production is not good enough for a player with league average defense. Continuing the team's trade deadline acquisitions is Sir Anthony Dominguez, who's being held in place with a club option for $8 million. Dominguez showed some major improvements in his time with the Orioles, posting a sub 4 ERA for the club while upping his strikeouts to over 11 per 9 innings. The problem during his tenure with the O's was the struggle with the home run ball, but it was so much higher than his career norms that it should be expected for that number to come back down. Dominguez has always been a high variance sort of reliever, but at his peak, he can be elite, and for that, the team will bring him back for his $8 million price tag. Another player facing a team option that the team will bring back is Ryan O'Hearn. O'Hearn continues to just fill out that role as a platoon alternative to Ryan Mountcastle. However, with the new roster, there will be some defensive shuffling to make that happen. In 2024, O'Hearn posted a 761 OPS with 15 homers and 59 RBIs while finding his way into 142 games. This platoon with Mountcastle is extremely effective, and continuing that into 2024 only makes sense for $8 million. The next name is the ultimate what if story, but John Means will find his way into free agency after his second Tommy John surgery, likely keeping him out of the 2025 season. Means has still posted good numbers during his spot starts here and there, but it's hard to give a contract to a guy who's only posted 10 starts in the last three seasons. An under the radar name for the Orioles the last two seasons is Danny Columbi, who has quietly posted a 2.56 ERA across 81 innings. The high strikeouts and low walks with almost non existent home runs make it near impossible for opponents to put up numbers against a lefty reliever, and it's a great person to have in the pen for just $4 million. Another under the radar name is Ciano Perez, who didn't have the greatest season last year, posting a 4.53 ERA across 62 games, but the underlying side of things show that he actually should have been better than his 2023 season, where he posted a 3.54 ERA. His FIP suggests he should be a low 3 ERA type pitcher, and for just $2.2 million, that is a bargain. And the final name on the list will be making his way out of the bullpen in the form of Bert Smith. Simply put, Smith was not good out of the pen for either the Marlins or the Orioles in 2025, and it doesn't make much sense to keep him around when he's posting a 5.74 ERA across 25 games with the club. For prospects, they still have the remnants of their top system from years prior, and that starts with Kobe Mayo, who's ranked atop the system and as the eighth best prospect in the minor leagues. Mayo gets his status as a prospect due to his big time arm and power. For his size, he does move relatively well, but there are concerns about his longevity at third base, and first base seems to be on the docket. He did a brief 17-game stint at the major league level, but really struggled in that transition, only grabbing 4 hits in his tenure. However, when the hitting comes around, his bat can be a dynamite addition to this Orioles lineup. The next big time prospect within the system is Samuel Basteo. Basteo gets his prolific rating as a prospect because of his bat, with both a 60 grade hit tool and power, and getting that from the catcher spot is relatively hard to do. His defense has been a work in progress, but he has done well to improve it over time. With Rutschman at the major league level, it does leave Basteo in a difficult spot to get time in the majors, and it will likely require a move to first base to get a crack at the major league roster with consistent playing time. The next name on the list is Chase McDermott, who also got a brief stint in the major leagues, only making one start. McDermott made his name off of his stuff with a big time fastball slider combination backed up with a changeup and curveball. McDermott's main criticism has always been his control, which has resulted in high walks, hurting his long term projection as a player. His stuff will at the very least bring up his floor to make a spot in the bullpen as a fallback option, but there is hope that with improved command, he can make himself a name in the rotation. And then the final name on the list is Dylan Beavers. Beavers at times can look like a really exciting prospect that has the makings of a five-tool guy. With a plus arm and speed, it gives him a really nice floor as a plus outfielder defensively. And if his offense can turn the corner consistently, this could be a guy who could make his impact at the major league level. For additions, the team actually doesn't need to do all that much. From the positional side of things, the team will need a true fourth outfielder, and they'll get that in the form of Michael A. Taylor. Offensively, Taylor didn't have a great 2024 season, posting a 543 OPS for the Pirates, but that comes off the back of hitting 20 homers with a 720 OPS while playing some of the most premier defense in the game in 2023. This signing is purely as a defensive replacement, and if he can provide any offensive production, great. On the pitching side of things, the team will grab Alex Cobb to add some stability to the rotation. Cobb, since his first tenure in Baltimore, has reinvented himself, posting a 3.75 ERA across 77 starts with 3.29 FIP. He really struggled with injuries in 2024, but if he can return to a fully healthy state in 2025, it can be a really underrated signing for this Orioles squad. And the final addition will be relatively small in the signing of Carl Edwards Jr. Edwards has been able to save his career over the past 3 seasons, posting a 3.07 ERA. He did really struggle with injuries in 2024, only facing 3 batters before getting shut down for the year. Edwards has shown a lot of seasons with upside, and if he can find that with some good health, he could be a quality addition for the Orioles pen. And that's going to do it for the additions, leaving the roster as Adley Rutschman as the everyday catcher, with Ryan Mountcastle in the platoon option at first base with Ryan O'Hearn. Jackson Holliday will be the everyday starter at second after a rough season in the majors, with Gunnar Henderson at short and Jordan Westberg at third. Colton Cowser will start in left with Cedric Mullins in center and Heston Kierstead in right, with Kobe Mayo as the DH with room to get on the field when it's Mountcastle's time to take the bench. Samuel Basteo will crack the major league roster as the backup catcher, which I normally wouldn't do for a major prospect, but he won't ever have a role on this team until years down the line. Ramon Urias will stay on the roster as a backup infielder, with Michael A. Taylor as a fourth outfielder. The rotation would consist of Zach Eflin, Grayson Rodriguez, and Alex Cobb at the top, with Albert Suarez and Chase McDermott bringing up the end of the rotation. This rebuild would fully embrace the youth movement in Baltimore, and it would take quite a managerial job to get all the right pieces in the right spot. However, the potential this team would have is absolutely ludicrous. Sure, they might objectively be worse to start the year, but it's important to get that boat of experience for this young squad. And if they can get the ball rolling towards the end of the year, they could be a very scary team to face, and maybe, just maybe, they go on a run in the postseason.